The mining industry is about to face its biggest disruption in decades, and most companies are completely unprepared. Here's a sobering statistic. EY research shows that mines are twice as likely to struggle with technology integration compared to all other sectors. At the same time, the rate of technological advancement, particularly relating to AI and robotics, is only accelerating. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to bridge this gap before it's too late. Let me start with a reality check. That EY statistic I just mentioned isn't just a number on a page. 74% of mining and metals executives say that integrating a new technology is a key challenge. Now that's compared to 37% across all other sectors. Think about that for a moment. That's nearly 3 out of every 4 mining companies struggling with something that every other industry handles almost twice as easily. I want you to think about Kodak for a moment. Here's a company that actually invented the digital camera back in 1975. They had the technology, they had the patent, they had the first mover advantage, but they thought it would cannibalize their existing and profitable film business. So they chose to protect their existing revenue stream instead of embracing the future. We all know what happened. By 2012, Kodak was bankrupt and out of business. In contrast, companies that embraced digital photography had a very different experience. Just look at how powerful the camera is in your phone today. Everyone has a powerful camera in their pocket. Same technology, very different outcomes. And this is exactly the crossroads where mining finds itself today. So let me ask you this. When was the last time that your site, your operation, implemented a major technological upgrade? I'm not talking about replacing a piece of equipment with a newer or bigger version of the same thing. I'm talking about fundamentally changing how you operate, how you collect data, how you make decisions, how you execute strategy. If you don't know, or if your answer involves years rather than months, you're probably part of that 74% statistic. Now let's talk about the second major issue, why time is running out faster than you think. The problem isn't just that mining struggles to adopt technology. The problem is that technological change itself is speeding up exponentially. And this creates a collision course that most mining companies simply aren't prepared for. Consider this. The first industrial revolution lasted 120 years. Steam engines, mechanization, factories, these changes all lasted for over a century. The digital revolution from the dot-com boom happened in just the last 20 years. Personal computers, the internet, mobile tech is only 2 decades old. It's transformed how the world operates. Now we're looking at the agentic era, artificial intelligence, robotics, automation. It's transforming industries, and we're watching entire business models become obsolete before these companies can even finish their strategic planning cycles. Now here's where it gets really challenging for mining. Mining companies operate on decade-long asset life cycles. Depending on the life of mine, infrastructure investment costs typically start in the hundreds of millions and need to generate returns generally over decades. But technology now evolves in yearly cycles and sometimes even faster. This fundamental mismatch is creating an impossible gap between how mining operates and how technology advances. Let's look at Tesla as an example of what happens when you embrace this new pace of change. Tesla went from a startup to the world's most valuable automaker in just 18 years. They disrupted an industry that hadn't fundamentally changed in decades. Traditional automakers, their competitors, companies with over a century of experience, massive resources, established supply chains, they had to play catch up. And when you think of electric vehicles today, you still probably first think of Tesla, regardless of what you think of the company. This raises a critical question. If your mining project takes years to plan and build, but the technology you're installing is already obsolete, by the time you're operational, how do you compete? How do you remain competitive? How do you protect your ROI? When an industry that moves slowly meets a technology that moves quickly, disruption always occurs. Look at the most valuable companies in the world at the moment. Uber's disrupted taxis, Netflix disrupted Blockbuster. There are countless others every time there has been an industrial revolution. The companies that survive this collision won't be the biggest or the oldest. They won't necessarily be the ones with the most resources or the longest history. They'll be the most adaptable. They'll be the ones that build what I call adaptive capacity into their operations. Now, this means creating an ecosystem that can innovate, it can adapt, and it can evolve quickly when new technologies, ways of working, or ways of thinking emerge. The critical part to this is they can do it without disrupting the day-to-day operations. Mining is a dangerous industry, and there's no getting around that. Operators need to retain control. They need line of sight, and they need operational assurance. This isn't about turning an industry on its head. It's about shifting priorities. Building adaptive capacity must become a priority, not remain an afterthought. This isn't something that you can delegate to your IT department or handle with a single software upgrade. It requires a fundamental shift in how you think about operations, planning, and ultimately the execution of your smart strategy. The question isn't whether this collision between slow-moving mining and fast-moving technology will happen. It's already happening. We're seeing it at every trade show. The question is, which side will you be on when the dust settles? If you could choose to be a case study taught in a top MBA program, would you choose to be a cautionary tale or held up as an example of best practice? You can assess your site's adaptive capacity right now with our free site performance tool. This measures the operational performance fundamentals that determine whether you can successfully balance operations with innovation. It identifies areas of weakness or disconnect so that you can proactively address them instead of being one of the 3/4 of minds that struggles to integrate new technology.